This is Unrendered. I'm Chester Connell. My guest is Dr. Ralph Gonsalves. Dr. Gonsalves, let's move on with CARICOM again. Is Dr. Denzel Washington attending CARICOM?
Denzel Douglas.
Denzel Douglas, sorry.
He would be very pleased to hear that
he's in such a large space.
That is Denzel Washington, because I understand that the movie star Denzel Washington has many friends.
Absolutely, and he comes to Mustique on a regular basis.
He comes to our part of the world,
which is something else I can raise with our international airport and so on. By the way, I want to talk to you about that as well, in terms of our economies of scale and so on.
Yes.
Dr. Denzel Douglas.
He is coming.
He is coming. All right.
In fact, he's making the presentation on human and social development. He's the lead spokesperson in the quasi-cabinet on issues of health and education.
What is a quasi-cabinet?
The quasi-cabinet of CARICOM is not a cabinet. It's almost like a cabinet where we have individual responsibilities. For instance, I have responsibility for air and sea transportation within the quasi-cabinet.
So it is the CARICOM version of cabinet.
It's a CARICOM version of cabinet.
All right. So Dr. Denzel Douglas. Now, there is trouble in St. Kitts. You've been criticized for not coming in as CARICOM and for not coming in as Prime Minister of St. Vincent and the Grenadines. You went into Venezuela. You didn't go into St. Kitts. You've responded and said, listen, there are two different issues altogether. One is, they are what they are. But I want to challenge you, because I've been looking at the situation. Judge, I can't remember his name, but he's ruled on it in February. I was talking to Dr. Tim Harris, who is the leader of two political parties. He's left Dr. Denzel Douglas's party. They have teamed up. There's a situation in St. Kitts, as you know, where the opposition is in the majority, the government is in the minority in Parliament. You have said on another medium that they tied themselves up, I think was the expression you used. They tied themselves up in court, and now they're in a situation out of which they cannot extricate themselves, maybe. But I want to take you to task on that, because going through this 70-page judgment, there were several antecedents that were brought to mind in Dominica, I think, in several islands, in England, of cases that showed basically that the Parliament, while they have parliamentary privilege, they are not a law unto themselves. And there are instances, if it contravenes the Constitution, I believe, and the law of the land, that Parliament
that the court can enter the picture.
Absolutely. Is that not so?
There are several issues which you have raised, and I've listened to you very carefully. Some of the issues you're correct upon, some you have used neutral words, some I don't think you're correct on, and some I think that you have used words which are value-laden and not neutral. Like, for instance, he says, trouble in St. Kitts.
Right.
Now, what you have in St. Kitts is not what I would describe as trouble, but intense political competition in a competitive political system.
So it's normal?
No, it is playing out in a different form in St. Kitts. Two members of the ruling party, my friends there, Timothy Harris
and Sam Condor.
They left. I understand that the reason why, for instance, Tim left is that he felt it's his turn to be leader. Well, you don't leave because you don't want to be prime minister because it is your turn.
But that may not be so. We don't know.
Yes, I'm just saying.
Yes.
But that is how the dialogue is taking place.
Yes.
He says it's the authoritarianism of Douglas's approach. So that you have a political competition.
Right.
No. The opposition has coalesced. They haven't merged, they've coalesced. Traditional enemies of labor plus these two former labor rights.
So you're saying their merging is not real?
No, I'm not saying that.
It's not significant.
I'm saying that they have merged.
What's the difference?
They've coalesced. Well, they haven't formed one party. They formed Team Unity.
Right.
which is, at the moment, it may well move into a merger, but at the moment, it's an alliance, a nexus,
Yes.
a coalition.
I understand.
When the majority of the representatives in the legislature were now opposed to the government, they thought it was a simple matter that they will have a vote of no confidence and the government will fall.
But it should it not have been a matter of
Well, you see,
simple
this is the point. In St. Kitts, Nevis, there is no constitutional provision like there is in St. Vincent and the Grenadines. This is why when I hear my friend Tim and him used to say that the same thing could happen in St. Vincent and the Grenadines, that's one of the reasons why he's here.
What's the difference?
In St. Vincent and the Grenadines, in the Constitution, as I said over and over before, the founding fathers, this case, Robert Milton Cato being the lead person on our side, insisted that in the Constitution be written in how a vote of no confidence, a motion of no confidence must proceed. If the House is meeting and you file a motion of no confidence, it must be heard within 7 days. If the House is not meeting and you submit it to the Speaker, the House must meet within 14 days. If the Speaker doesn't call the House within 14 days, the clerk of the House, a public servant, has the power under the Constitution to call it within 21 days. So there is no way that that is possible in St. Vincent and the Grenadines. That can't happen in Barbados either, because the standing orders in Barbados have has it set out as to how you deal with motions of no confidence.
Yes.
But our Constitution has it. Now, so in St. Kitts, when that didn't happen, they went to the court. Well, once you go to the court, you go into a timetable which you cannot control.
Sure.
Now, it is evident to everybody who is alive that persons are jockeying for
political position,
for political advantage in this political competition. The ruling party, the government, is seeing how much time they can have to put things that they want in place. The opposition feels that it has the wind, the momentum, the wind at its back, wants this thing very quickly. Of course, a long time has passed. I said in a letter to Prime Minister Douglas, you may recall that letter which I wrote, where Mr. Eustace had written, I thought, an ill-advised and fairly immature letter on the subject. I said that there is an unease if you have a motion of no confidence and you're not hearing it within a reasonable time. There is an unease because motions of no confidence, whether it's in the Constitution and the standing orders or not, should be held within a reasonable time.
Has Dr. Douglas responded to you?
No, but they have accepted the letter. It's read, everybody. That part I understand my friend Tim would use to his advantage. The other part which says that, look, they have gone into this, instead of dealing with the matter politically, they went to court. Once they went to court, they locked themselves in. Even this recent decision,
yes,
the Speaker, I understand, has made an application for leave to appeal. Right. You see, once you get in that process, you tie yourself up unnecessarily.
But when you look at it from their point of view, you've made a motion of no confidence. It is not being responded to. You're getting clear indications. You're going back and forth. You go to court. You tie yourself up, as you say. The fact of the matter is Dr. Denzil Douglas has been Prime Minister for 19 years uninterrupted, which is not a healthy thing. When you led an assertive move with the roadblock revolution, as it was known, to force a government out of power here. What do you think about this situation? Should Dr. Denzil Douglas...
But why didn't the political opposition in St. Kitts mobilize politically?
Well, maybe
to force the government.
Maybe they don't have the political.
Well, this is the point. They tie themselves up. And what is happening? I mean, if I were to advise my friend Tim,
yes,
and I could do so here publicly,
yes,
he is coming to St. Vincent.
Yes.
He should have said, look, I want to have an audience with the chairman of CARICOM, which is
yes,
Ralph.
Yes.
I would have spoken to him.
Yes.
He could have gotten some NGOs,
yes,
to host him.
I see.
But he comes, what does he do? Very ill-advised.
Yes.
You want to succeed somewhere else.
Yes.
If you can't have a close association with the man who has been successful in the last 3 elections, which is to say Ralph,
yes,
you certainly don't go and associate with a failure. That is to say, Arnim Eustace, who has lost 3 in succession. If you hope to be a success in St. Kitts, you don't come to St. Vincent and the Grenadines and associate with political failures.
I will tell you, he used a word that you often use, the ennoblement of the Caribbean civilization.
Yes.
And I reminded him, but he said he used it advisedly because he's in your country. But what advice would you have for Dr. Denzil Douglas? Yes.
No, well, the point about it is this. I laid out my advice.
Which is what?
In the letter.
Remind us.
I said, first of all, there's an unease
yes,
when you have this
yes,
matter this
yes,
way.
Yes.
But that the institutions, the democratic institutions of state, that is to say the parliament and the courts, the judiciary, they're dealing with this matter. Therefore, the notion of somebody interfering in the matter is completely out of order. There's not a breakdown in law and order in St. Kitts, you know. This is why when I say trouble, yes, there's no breakdown in law and order in St. Kitts.
So they're basically trying to do what you did when you wanted to get into power. They're using mechanisms.
They're using a mechanism.
Whereas you use the roadblock revolution, they use a court.
Well, I didn't use a roadblock revolution.
But as you referred to that.
All I did is this.
What did you do?
All I did is this. I protested. I engaged in tactics as old as Martin Luther and Gandhi. Nobody was injured.
You're comparing what you did
to
Martin Luther King?
I'm talking about the tactics. I'm not talking, I can't compare myself with Gandhi. I can't compare myself with Martin Luther King. I can't do that.
Right.
I'm saying that in the tradition of peaceful protest.
There's no violence.
There's no violence.
Right.
And then, Sir James was the Prime Minister, realized the police were not taking instructions from him. The teachers were out for 2 weeks. More than half the public servants were not at work. So he felt, well, listen,
but
the only way to resolve a problem like this is to have general elections, which is what we are calling for. And we had general elections 9 months after the protest.
Will you advise Dr. Douglas to do the same?
Well, as I understand it, the issue now is with the Speaker. The Speaker has appealed.
But Dr. Denzil Douglas can bring that to an end by resigning or fresh elections.
Well, apparently, the fly in the ointment with fresh elections is that there was a process of boundaries, revision of boundaries before.
I see.
So there's a collateral challenge now by the opposition that the Boundaries Commission report is not a fair one.
I see.
So there's this. So all of these things are happening within the context of an intense competition for political office. But it is being done within the context of the institutions of the state. What Timothy Harris is doing to come to St. Vincent is perfectly legitimate to St. Vincent and the Grenadines. All that I said to him,
if he was wiser,
if he were wiser in his judgment,
yes,
that he would seek to associate himself with elements which have been successful politically recently. Remember, he's tying himself to Arnim Eustace, whom Sir James said cannot be supported.
Would it be infradig for you to approach the young politician and say to him, let me offer you some assistance, some guidance here? That would be infradig.
No, I can't do that. At an earlier stage when he was in Labour, in the Labour Party, I spoke to him. I gave certain advice. Among other things, I told him that when you leave Labour, when you leave the Labour family, it's an extraordinary decision. And you have to be careful that you don't leave the Labour family.
I want to talk to you about extraordinary decisions when we come back,
yes.
Closer to home, closer to you.
Yes.
This is Unrendered. My guest, Dr. Ralph Gonsalves. As we move towards the end of the program, we'll be right back as we try to squeeze in everything, LIAT and other items on the agenda. We'll be right back.